This is the second video I've done about my Voynich decode, and I've got two apologies to make. First of all, one is the length of time between the videos. I plan to do a sequence of videos explaining how it was in the language and showing how my code evolved, but as I was sort of preparing the documents, I noticed something else and it evolved a little bit, so I decided to stop and get that done first before I did another video. And then I found a problem with the EVA, and then fire season caught up with us in Portugal where I live, and many things sort of caught up with that, and I didn't want to do a video where it wasn't complete. You know, there were still some things to iron out with it. So that's the reason why the length of time. And the second apology is how many times I said so in the last video. I'm not reading from a script. It's all in my mind and I'm thinking as I'm recording. And so I've really got to be aware of saying so in this video. I will try not to. This video is going to be about how the code has evolved and to this stage. Maybe I'll go back later and do the middle bits of it all, but I really haven't got the time. I'm working full time. We live off the grid. We've got an animal rescue here, and really my time is minimal, and all my spare time has been going into this code for the last few months. Really, it's all consuming. So this video is just going to be really explaining what's happened to this point and trying to explain how the book works, at least up to a certain point anyway. So many of you who are many of you will be aware of this book, but if you're not, it's a very famous book. Nobody's been able to read it, and most people have assumed it's been a language, so they've been trying to turn the symbols into a language, and it isn't. My overall theory at the beginning was this book is about sap, the liquid in the plants, and how the planets impact that sap with their frequencies, with their harmonics. I mean, this is, you know, over my pay grade. I really don't know about this stuff, but I understand the principle of it. Nearly did it again. The idea of today's video was to go through the first parts of the book. Now I've decoded all different sections of the book. My code works throughout. What I didn't fully understand was the images, and it's at that stage that the book and the code really changed, because the two things started working together. The code helped me to understand the images, and the images helped me to fully understand the code, and also the symbols that were used. The symbols evolve, and there was no... I had to understand that evolution of the symbols, why they use that symbol, because then I would be able to understand any future symbols that came up as well. So the plan now is to go back, or has been, to go back from the beginning of the book and go through it very carefully, one at a time. I've been doing that. I fully understood the plant pages about 2 weeks ago. I was out on the farm cleaning, cutting down some trees, and I happened to notice the sap that was coming out of one of those trees and how long it took. And that took me back to the book to understand the text positioning. I think everybody's been assuming that these plants are herbs, you know, smaller plants, but what about trees? You know, you've got to, if you want to take sap from a tree, it's not something you're going to, you know, get a litre of overnight. It's a slow process. And that made me look at the plant pages again. I realised, I'd thought for some time, that the first plant page was a lemon tree. The single fruit, I'm going to show you the page, if I can work this thing. I'm trying to do this operating software and I'm learning. I got a microphone today, I'm posh. Right, so let me flip it. This was the first page of the book, F1R as it's known as. There was a couple of images on here, a few things that sort of drew my attention, but I wasn't really sure what they were at the start. This one, this one, this one. Nothing on the bottom. Nothing on the bottom one. This I wasn't sure of, but this I started to become aware was a container, an open container of air. Notice it's just open to the air. And then the one below it has sort of like got vapor, steam coming off that. So if that one is air and that one is like water, and this S is very similar to the symbol for vital fluid, then this must be fire, because this is ground. So there's the 4 alchemical stages there: fire, air, water, ground. The code shows me that on each paragraph, the symbol for C represents a vessel. The thing that's holding, here it is, the thing that's holding the fluid. The symbol looks like that, a C with a backward thing on it. And so this first paragraph is showing that the vessel here, it can't be the plant, it can't be the human, because there's no plants or humans on this page. So what is the thing that's holding the liquid on this page? And it's got to be an actual container, a hot container in this paragraph. Next paragraph, an open container. Third paragraph would be a container that's sitting in water for the distillation phase. Also, that phase would take the longest, the biggest paragraph here. And then at the bottom, the grounded paragraph. Notice here we've got this expanding glyph. This would be Jupiter in my code, and only Jupiter expands. So this first page is the master page. When you get the sap from the plants in the following pages, you bring it to this page, and it goes through a process of 144 days. And you time the days by looking for the day points. This is not such a great page to show you the day points, but I'll try. So here is an 8. This represents noon, 12 o'clock. And here is an O. This represents sunrise. So what I have to do on a spreadsheet, which I'm not going to show you today because this video would be too long, is I go through each line and I mark all the times where it says O, D, N, or N or D, whatever it says. So this would show me from sunrise to noon to sunset. And then if we got an N again, that means the following sunset. So these were markers to show the practitioner when and where to do something. And the spaces, space equals time. So the spaces between, some of them are not so important, and some of them show a big space. That's telling you to leave a big space between the procedures. Space equals time, exactly what you can see. That's the front page, the master ritual, 144-day pure alchemy that turns your raw material into the finalized product, almost the philosopher's stone. This page, very important, very old knowledge as well. This is what made me realize that Lucrezia Tornabuoni is responsible for the later pages of the book, but not the first. This book is generational through the Medicis, I'm sure. Then we come to the next page, which I already assumed was a lemon tree. It's the only page that's got this type of root structure on it, and it's the only page where the first paragraph starts here. These are significant sapping points on a tree, the crown and where the first leaf starts. Lemon is also well known for having yellow and green leaves at a certain time of the year, and the single fruit really looks like a lemon coming out, or the flowers of the lemon dying. So there it is. My first and only identification of this is lemon. Lemon is also really important for the Medicis, and I didn't know about that until a few days ago. My identification of that was made before I linked lemons to the Medicis. Now, on this page, we've got no colour. We've got no red, no blue. So when I got to the next page, there's red on this page. And I was like, okay, I got to document all these reds and all these blues to understand what it means. And that's what I did. I went through the first 50-something pages on a spreadsheet and started to write down, you know, red pages, blue pages, and what the red and blue parts were showing. I didn't bother with any other colours, no greens, just red and blue. And it showed me that only some parts of the flowers could be red and only some parts could be blue, but there was no particular pattern to it. And this book is totally logical, so I had to understand the pattern behind that. What could it actually be? What could red be? What could blue be? You know, why are they so specific? and I realized that the blue pages mostly had sort of flower pods, indicating sort of like womb, you know, the uterus and the ovaries, and the male pages were more phallic, more, you know, penis-like and testicle-like a little bit. And this page here almost looks like a face down at the roots. So I was thinking that this was sort of a, you know, a male treatment page, okay, impact in the seeds, you know, you've got the seed pods here, little dots, very specifically seeds in the sac, shall we say. And then this looked like a face, you know, the eyes and the nose. And so I turned it around. When I turned it around, it sort of looked like a walking man. And I was like, wow. So I realized that only the flower pages, the flowers are on some pages. It's like the flowers are showing the reproductive areas of a human. So if the flowers are always showing the reproductive areas of a human, that means that the diagrams are showing no legs. So we're looking at the torso. And I thought the roots could be the head and the neck, as you can see at first. That's what I actually put. But then further along, a couple of pages down, no, it's not. Actually, it's the body of the torso. So this is a human torso. And the root structure tells you where to start to understand the diagram. So on this page, this is actually, I'm going to delete this because it's wrong. This is actually the heart. And then this is the aorta that comes down. The red, you can see the red, the blood is going down from there to the seed sacs. Very important in fertility. And this was a big game changer here. So you can see the color of these pods. This one is weak. This one is starting to recover. And this one is really strong green with a strong green stem. So this is showing the 3 phases of seed regeneration. And coming out of the seed pod, shall we say, then you can see a lot of like yellow discharge. It's heavy here, then not so much, and then it's much better here. So this is showing where the semen is purged. The old semen is purged, ready for the new fresh semen. Very important in fertility, especially if you're a Medici. You want your seed to be strong. This is the first plant page, and the lemon treats this condition, and it's the only condition that the lemon treats, because then we go on to caper. Very easy to distinguish this as a caper. They were everywhere. The flower is very easy to recognize. It's got the stamen coming out the top, the big round leaf. So also capers were mentioned in one of Lucrezia Tornabone's letters about Bagno al Morbo, when she talks about the size and the capers there. That gave me a clue. And when I went to look at capers, it's like, there it is, bingo. So you can see the first paragraph starts here. This is where you would take the sap. And the second paragraph to here. The text is on the plant, so the sap, you must not cut down the plant. You take the sap while the plant is still rooted to the ground. So if you find the text to the left, you cut off the leaves or you cut off the flowers, whatever it is. If the text is in the plant, then you leave the plant in the ground before you take the sap. And if the text is above the plant, you pull it. The whole plant is to be used. So the text positioning is what led me to a lot of this. Caper then is to be used on the following pages as treatment. So male page, red page, red is male, blue is female. You can see this looks very much like a rib cage. There's no reproductive organs here, no flowers. So this focus is on the chest area. You can see the little dots telling you to focus here. White, red and green. Green is healthy and good. Red is the blood and the white is the white phlegm. So it's showing a chest congested and needing to be cleared. Through the airways here, this is significant as well. This is something, there's 16 to 20 rings on a thorax. This is pointing those out. So again, the stem is showing the part of the body to work on. And something to notice here as well is a strange glyph. This looks like an upside down V. So I marked it as query at one point, but now I understand that this is a positional glyph. The position the person should be in. Makes total sense. Bend over, head to the floor, and that should happen. Notice the space. Here is sunrise and sunrise. So this is sort of before sunrise. You should be in this position. And then after sunrise, this glyph here is a dose. You're going to get a dose of medicine, and that medicine would be the caper. So the data started working with the images, and these glyphs, in amongst all the other stuff, are showing the position of the patient that's being worked on. So this was a chest clearing page. The next one is blue, first female page. Here is the spinal column, looks very spine-like. And here you've got an enlarged ovary on this side, and then a smaller one here. You've got patchy green coming down the stem. None of these colours are by accident. They're showing you where you should focus. And then the next page, or I'm going to have a dodgy page now because, hold on, let me refresh it. The next page was really amazing because this was something that really showed me that this was absolutely correct. So I worked out that the root here was the liver. So this showed me that all the roots are one organ that somehow connect to the reproductive areas of a male or a female. So I have to understand, first of all, what connects. I got to use AI for that. I've got no medical knowledge, and it takes a lot of process of elimination. So here, the liver is called the sun of the body, and doesn't that look like a sun? Then we've got all these strands coming down. So I worked all this out. You can see this pod is like a darker colour here. This leaf has no pod, like this side. We've got 3 points here. We've got some points down there. And then, so I'd worked it all out, internal organs and stuff. And this here is the gallbladder. So I was going to label it gallbladder. And I had the diagram like this at the time. It's easier for me to understand it upside down than it is the right way up. And as I was labeling gallbladder, I noticed that F. I don't know if you can see it there. That's an F. So I flipped the page again, and it's absolutely an F. And that's the first time I've seen a real letter in this book. What could that F be? This was quite a tricky diagram to understand the mechanics of what was happening here. And I thought, I wonder, what's gallbladder in Italian? And gallbladder in Italian is, or gall or bile is feel. And gall or bile in Latin is fel. What a coincidence. So this is showing, in case you got confused with this, because it was confusing, that there is the gallbladder, so that you understand the organs. So that one's been done. All these are fully analysed, by the way, on my Twitter page. The summaries are on there, and the full data from each page is in the Google Drive folder, and you'll find a link there. This was the next one, female page, blue. You can see you've got a double root here. This represents the uterine horns, 2 chambers in the uterus, and these are the lines that come down from there that carry fluid. Now there's no color here. You got a little bit of black bile at the bottom. This is sort of different color in the flower. Notice the seeds, they're coming down from the uterine horns at the top, going down towards the uterus, and they're healthy, they're good. But then when they're coming out of the uterus, they're not. So this is showing that there's a problem with the seeds coming out of the uterus, a treatment for that. Every treatment is fertility. This was tricky. These represent the uterine ligaments, 4 of them. And here you can see that these 2 end ones are more central than these ones. And that's how I worked this one out. The positional glyphs are all the way through here. This is the next one I'm working on now. This is F5V. I've just finished analysing this. I haven't done the data yet because I thought, all right, I'm going to wait until I've done the video, or I'll do a video and I'll show you how I take this data then to my spreadsheets and understand it. But the anatomy of this one has already been understood. So this is called the fundus. I'm learning a lot about anatomy during this, really. And I have to notice everything on these pages. So here you can see that there's like a white clump. We got much darker leaves. So when it's leaving the fundus, this liquid is all right. But as it's going towards the end, it's getting paler and weaker. Notice the leaves are different colors. That one there has gone bad. And then this oval shape is very distinctive. That was the clue. Each page gives you a big clue. And then you've got these two sort of flower pods that are point in the opposite direction. Again, you know, very important for the identification. And so that's where I've reached at the moment. All this has already been partially analysed in the Google documents. Let me come back to the screen. But then when I found the EVA problems, let me go back there. I'm going to show you the EVA problems. Okay, let me find some text to show you what happened. There's a good example here. Whoa, too far in. I have no idea what you're seeing now, but my screen went weird. Right, so let me make this a little bit smaller, the thickness. Oh, God. Stop messing around. I don't know if you're seeing my screen go blank. Okay, so here is the S glyph. This is very important because, come on, not now. Oh, it did work. Look at the mess I made. This S glyph is very important because it represents the vital fluid in the whole manuscript. And we had a lot of S's. When I was doing the count, there was a lot of S's. And actually, it was, you know, sort of a very important glyph. But when they did the EVA, the transcription, they assumed that this was the same as this. You can see this is very distinct. This is something above those pairs. It's not this S shape. So S became inflated and this was lost forever. And my code revealed this. When I saw this and what they'd done, because I'd been working from the EVA, I always assumed that that was really accurate and good, and it's really not. These plagal versions, the lower versions, these are tonal glyphs. These were all lumped under one. So I had to go back through all the data and fix it. And so a lot of this is partially done, and really it's just a case of updating all the paperwork. And now it's super quick. So I just literally type below each line. I know these so well. To give you an example of what I do. So along the top here would be KOCHERYTCHEY and so on. And then I take this to a spreadsheet and then I split each glyph into a cell. Then I count the days so I can understand which, you know, how many days per line, because these days are just points for the practitioner. You know, do this, here's sunrise. Do this before sunrise. Here's sunset. Do this between. So these are points in the day for the practitioner, but it doesn't give an actual day count to count the sunrises, because you've got to take into account noons and sunsets. So each one of these is taken to the spreadsheet, count the days, and then the next phase is put my key to each glyph, analyze every block. I'm building a lexicon as I go along, so it's getting easier each time. And then take that vertical information to horizontal information so it's easier to read, and then go through the treatment schedule. And every single treatment schedule corresponds to these images. That's the stage I'm at the moment, and I will do another video and guide you actually through a line-by-line processing of this page. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you're interested in my work. They don't like it. The experts refuse to look at it because it flies in the face of everything that they've been saying for the last 20 or 30 years. But I'm not doing this for them. I'm doing this because I saw a puzzle, I saw a pattern, and this book really has just taken me along. You know, I can't sleep sometimes because I'm thinking about it, and then something happens to bring the light bulb moment, you know. It's like, there it is, now I understand. So the book's been waiting for me to catch up to understand, and it really is the most amazing thing. So the plan is a page a day. I did 2 yesterday, so I'm sort of ahead. I'm being a bit lazy today and having a day off with my husband as such. And maybe later I've got a bit of work to do, and if I finish that work, then I'll do the next video. So thanks for watching. Bye.